Melissa and Lee were planning a December wedding. And, they could spend a lot of money on that. In fact, today, the average cost of a wedding in the United States is $35,300. That's the average cost. And they both had good paying jobs, and they were both going to pay for their own wedding. But they wanted to do something a little different with some of their wedding funds. And so they had a very simple church wedding. And after the Mass, they went down in the church hall, and there they had cake and refreshments. And then they gave each of their 70 guests $25 and took them all to Toys R Us for a shopping spree for needy children in the city. And everybody had a blast with that. And the guests, most of them spent even more than the $25 that they had been given. They spent their own money on it. And not only that, there were other shoppers in the store who were not a part of the wedding party who got the spirit. And they bought toys for the needy and gave them to the wedding couple. Well, when they had all finished, they had bought about $5,000 worth of toys for the needy. And so they loaded them up in a truck and took them to Toys for Tots to be distributed. And it's interesting that the next year, their first anniversary, Melissa and Lee spent the day collecting food for the pantry for the hungry. Well, anyway, their generosity and Toys for Us was sort of a mirror to the miracle of the multiplication of the loaves of bread and the fish that we read about in the gospel today. Their generosity of spirit was infectious, and many more participated in this, and many more toys were bought over and above the $25 that each participant had received. So they multiplied the benefit for the poor, disadvantaged children of that city. Just as a little boy in the gospel gave up his lunch and put him in the hands of Jesus, and he fed the multitude on the hillside. The gospel says there were 5,000 men. Well, that means that probably there were at least 15,000 people that were there, counting women and children. So, what is the lesson for us? As we look at our world today, there are a lot of needs, a lot of problems. I was just reading one statistic where it said that it's estimated that at least 71 million children go to bed hungry every night. Go to bed hungry in our world every night. Oh, the problems of hunger throughout the world are terrible, of poverty, not enough clean water for people. What about the victims of war and the immigrants all over the world who are displaced? The suffering that is out there is so overwhelming. And if we wanted to do something, where would you start with such a huge problem? How could you even make a dent in those worldwide problems? Well, the apostles had a similar dilemma. They saw this huge crowd on the hillside, and they wondered how they could feed them. They certainly didn't have enough money to buy food and no place to buy it to begin with. But what they did was they put their meager resources, this little boy's lunch, into the hands of Jesus, and he multiplied it and fed everyone and had 12 baskets of fragments left over. That's what happens when we put our resources in the hands of Jesus. A middle-aged lady landed in a large city. She went to the slums. And she had less than $100 in her pocket. But she rented an old building with a dirt floor and then went throughout the neighborhood collecting children who weren't in school, because there were no schools. And she began to teach them. She had no table or chairs or desks, no chalkboard or chalk, no paper or pencils, no books. But she gave what she had. And in 1997, Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, when she died, she had 80 fully equipped schools and fully staffed. And she had over 300 mobile medical clinics. She had 80 centers, clinics for leprosy victims. And she had 30 homes for the dying. And she had 30 homes for abandoned children. And she had, worldwide, over 40,000 volunteers. In the face of such poverty in Calcutta and such misery, she put her meager resources in the hands of Jesus, and he multiplied them. So the scriptures today are asking us, what about us? What of our lives, our time, our talents, our abilities, our resources, what do we put in the hands of Jesus to let him do what he wants for those who suffer? We're called, you and I, not to be discouraged by the little that we have, because we know what little we have, if we put in the hands of Jesus, he will multiply beyond our wildest dreams. I have a prayer I'd like to share. I entitled this prayer, Multiplying Bread. Jesus, Lord, our world's in need, hungry, sick, war-torn, the suffering and poverty, our spirits down, forlorn. I want to help, to give support, to help the poor to live with food, clean water, clothing too. But what, Lord, can I give? The needs are always so immense, my resources so small. I would not even make a dent if I gave my all. Trust in me and in my love. I hear my people cry, put your gifts into my hands. I'll make them multiply. Thank you, Jesus, Lord, my God. Thanks with all my heart. You have multiplied the bread. From us never part.